Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me today. I am back and I am so excited and pumped to share with you all what I have been up to. So, if this is your first time here or if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. This will help the channel a lot and it will also notify you whenever I do upload any videos. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, what have I been up to? I haven't really posted anything since December, and the reason is because I decided I wanted to do a technology free January. Well, what does that mean? Technology surrounds us everywhere, right? It's at work, it's what we do with our phones, it's just we're consumed with it. If we're going from one place to another and we haven't been there before, our GPS tells us. So, yeah, this was definitely a challenge. And I'm here to tell you all about it. So, why would I put myself through this? Crazy girl, right? A lot of people do New Year's resolutions. I stopped doing that back in 2014ish. If people who know me know that I do not do New Year's resolutions. Instead, what I do is I focus on a word for the year. And usually, this is a word that I have meditated on. It's a word that I feel like the universe has provided me because it's the guidance that um, the universe is providing me for the year. So usually I decide on that word around October, November timeframe. 2025 is the year of growth. So to grow, I needed to let go of some old habits, habits that no longer serve me or the purpose that I have in my life. So part of that was the reason of why I wanted to do a tech free January. Another reason was because I was realizing that there's a disconnect between me and actual humans. And what I mean by that is I was happier scrolling, what is it called? Doom scrolling through social media rather than having real life conversations with others. So I wanted to even out my dopamine levels. I didn't want that to be released just because there was something on television or there was something on social media that made me happy. No, I want my happiness to come from within. I want my happiness to be because of me and because I just feel joyous all the time and not because social media makes me smile or something on television made me laugh. Because that's all superficial. It's also something that I feel like it's addicting, right? You get addicted to that feeling. You get addicted to I'm bored and so now I'm just gonna pick up my phone and I'm gonna scroll through it and now I'm happy. Right? Remember for those of you who are millennials, back in the days when you used to go on road trips and you were in the back seat with your siblings or you were just looking out the window or you'd make up a game. We did punch buggies. Anytime we saw a buggy, we'd punch each other. There's four of us. I was the oldest. Yeah, crazy times. When we would go to my grandparents' house, that felt like forever. But we got our creativity there. We came up with things. And so I didn't have to rely on social media to keep me entertained. My mind could create that. And as a business owner, I want to tap into that creativity to help me grow my business, to help me grow as a person, so that I can visualize and create the life that I want. Because we can manifest the life that we want based off our own creativity. Our brains do not know what's reality and what's fake. It doesn't know that you're crying because you're watching a movie versus you're crying because something actually did happen in your life. So if once we tap into that, we can build so much. So I wanted to tap into my creativity. Another reason too that triggered me was I saw a very scary stat on my phone. And I couldn't find it because I wanted to show you all, but I couldn't find it anymore. But there was one day in December where I spent 11 hours of screen time on my phone. And I'm like, girl, you got a lot more going on than just scrolling. Why would you spend 11 hours? And I'm not judging or criticizing. I was just asking myself that question, right? Like, what happened that you spent 11 hours of your day? And if you think about it, we spend what, 12, 15 hours awake, maybe, right? So 11 hours of my day was on my phone scrolling through social media. So, yeah, so I just needed to grow, step out of my comfort zone, and step into an unknown. Another reason was because I wanted to be more productive. I wanted to also learn to sleep without the television on. That has been a thing I've done since I was a kid. I did it throughout college every day. Like, that is how I sleep. But now, the more I'm learning and growing, I'm realizing how that's not good for your sleep patterns. It's not good in helping you get a good night's sleep. Also, it has to do with the feeling of being alone, or that I found out that also it has to do with feeling safe. That there's the TV in the background is because it makes you feel safe. But again, those are habits that no longer serve me. I am safe in my home, thankfully, right? I no longer have to turn on that television. When I was growing up, yeah, sometimes my parents weren't home because they were working. So as a kid, it was nighttime and I had to go to sleep and we were home alone. I can understand that, right? But as an adult, my kid is here, my husband's here, my three dogs are here. We live in a safe neighborhood. Thankfully, we're in a safe space, and I don't have to worry about that. I have cameras around the house, um, so I feel like I'm pretty safe, and so I could let go of that. So those were the reasons. Now, I realized that too much of one thing is never good enough. I know we talk about in society about acceptable addictions like drug addictions, alcoholism, but we don't talk about social media addiction. Nobody says, I went on a social media um, addiction camp, right? Or things like that. But that's why it's up to us as as individuals to keep an eye out on that too. And then also, what example are you giving your family when so, my husband was trying to have a conversation and I'm like, yep, Beck, am I really focused on him or am I focused on my phone? And then what does my child see? Well, they're always on their phone. Why should I be off my phone? Right? So it's just a lot of things that I wanted to be better at. So, what was my setup? My setup was December, I like Sudoku games. So that was my other excuse. Oh, I'm not on my phone for social media. I'm on my phone because I'm playing a game. So that's better. No, it's not. So I bought Sudoku games because I love Sudoku. Um, so I bought the book. I also bought a puzzle, a 1,000 piece puzzle. Ever since I was a kid, I really enjoyed them. It had been years since I had done anyone, but I really enjoy that. It just gets my mind like my again creativity. It connects me with my inner child, and it just sends me. I discovered that during this time. Um, I also bought coloring books because I was like, I'm gonna color. I remembered that in my 20s, 30s, I used to always have coloring books because that just made the girl inside of me happy. So I bought coloring books, and then I had books. I have all these books in my house, and one of them that I've been tackling, I've been trying to get through it, is called The Myth of Normal by Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a Canadian doctor. And his book is really about how your your body remembers the trauma that you had even since day one, right? And then how illnesses get created because of that trauma, because of the stress that your body goes throughout that period of time. Because sometimes bad things happen to us as children, and we don't know how to vocalize it. We don't know that we can. So we keep it quiet and we dig it down deep, right? And then that just stresses our body out. And then it shows up in disease later. Because your disease doesn't come up from one day to another. It's not like today I was super healthy and then tomorrow you get disease. No, your disease appeared on a specific day, but it's been developing throughout years. So it's pretty interesting. Those are things that I'm interested in. If you're interested, his book is The Myth of Normal, and his name is Dr. Gabor Mate. There's a lot of videos of him doing interviews if you want to find out more. And then I was gonna read a chapter a day because the book is like 20 something chapters. I was like, great, I'll read a chapter a day. I'm gonna write on my journal, in my journal every day to kind of keep track of what's going on in my mind, what's coming up, all that stuff. And then I was gonna work, and the plan was work out 30 minutes a day, which is something that I pretty much do. So that was kind of like routine. And then I was like, oh, but you know what I don't do too often is go outside, go soak up the sun, sit out there in my yard, or go take a walk around the neighborhood. I'm like, that's gonna be nice because it's beautiful. I live in Arizona, so this is the time of year that you want to live in Arizona. I plan to create my vision board for 2025. I started to map it out, and I was gonna clean out my garage and just be productive around the house. Yeah, those were my plans. So, how did it go? So, the first day was interesting. I realized I live with humans who are not part of this plan of being tech free, right? So I had to respect that. So first negotiation was TV time was gonna be family time, or when my husband was coming in from his office um, at night to unwind because of me. Now he's used to sleeping with the TV on. It's a whole thing. So he really enjoyed this because I had no say on what he was watching or what he wasn't watching. Because usually I'm like, I don't want to watch that, or I want to watch this, or I'm the one responsible for the remote. So he really enjoyed that time. I focused on my Sudoku or word games while he was watching his television. Um, then so that was my first negotiation. In addition, in December, right before the holidays, I was diagnosed with walking pneumonia. So, this was my first time having it. I had no idea what it meant, what it did. I felt tired, but I'm like, yeah, I have a cold, or yeah, okay, pneumonia equals two. a, a cold because I never had I didn't get a fever or anything. So I wasn't associating it like it was a flu. But I knew it was something similar. Excuse me. So what did that do to my plan? The workouts didn't happen every day. Going outside, that was definitely a no because it was too cold and I wanted to protect myself. Um, the cleaning out of the garage, that didn't even cross my mind. So, yeah, there was very little movement done during that period because I just felt bad. I would get tired from going from my bedroom to my kitchen. So, I would run out of breath. So, yeah, that didn't happen. But I did get in maybe one or two cardio workouts every week. And then I finally got my antibiotics, and that made me feel better. But still, there's a lingering that's still happening today. But I am so much better, and I can actually get through some workouts. And I have started to get into my routine again. I do plan to go outside and take those walks as soon as I get cleared up as much as possible. But I'm towards the tail end, so I'm feeling it, but not that bad. So so far I've negotiated on television time. Still using TV. The working out. Oh, here's the thing. Here's the second negotiation around television. It's crazy how once you start to see it from an outsider's perspective, how much time is consumed by our televisions and our phones. So, what happened was, whenever I did work out, I was like, I'm bored. Like, I'm not going to get through this, like, 30-minute workout if I don't have any distractions, right? Because I wanted to do it without the music, where I was just going to let my mind go free and we were going to explore. That was my goal. Crazy me. So I realized, girl, you need some music or something. So I didn't want to go with music because again, I was being mindful of what was going into my mind. Like what was I consuming, the energy that was coming to me. I was very mindful of that. So what I did was, well, let me watch educational TV. Things that are going to help me grow, things that are going to help me learn. And I love like yeah, wellness stuff. I like self-help. I like motivational things. So I was watching that kind of thing. I discovered Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast Star Talk. I really have enjoyed those episodes. And I have such a range of like things that I'm into. But I was watching that. It's pretty interesting about how energy works, how physics works, how different dimensions that we exist in. So yeah, that tells you a little bit of who I am. But I also like learning about the celebrities' path of how they became famous. Like what was their life like when they were younger? And that's just something I really enjoy with anybody I meet. I want to know about your life. Like I want to know what was your childhood like. I want to know who were you in high school and and in college, your 20s, your 30s, because I want to understand how you became you. And I feel like when you do that, you understand the person's perspectives and opinions at a whole different level. And you're truly connecting with them. It's not just the superficial of like, how's your day? Or how are you? What are you doing? Like, most of our conversations, even at work, are just very superficial. But I want to know the person and get that connection. And yes, not a lot of people want to share. And I don't want to know all the details of it. And this happened and that happened. I just want to know enough where I can be like, oh, look, we have this in common. Or, oh, I get what, like in my head, right? Oh, I get why you act like this or why you see things this way. It just helps me understand a person better. And I just love stories. So so I found podcasts about that. How certain successful people got to be successful. And then I also learned like tips of how you manage or how they manage their lives that I can implement into mine to help myself grow as well. So I found a podcast around those things too. Um, so first negotiation, television watching with my husband. Second negotiation, television watching while I work out. But educational, so it's not that bad. Um, then I was wondering, what is my weekend going to look like? I mean, after all, during the weekday, I work, right? So I dedicate to my business the time, and then after that, then I have my free time, which I was like, I can fill in 4 hours of my day, 5 hours of my day with something other than technology. Luckily, the first weekend, the first Saturday, was my birthday. So my sister and my nephew were over, and so I was preoccupied with preparing the house for that evening. I was occupied with the setup and all that stuff, right? So that took my mind off of wanting to reach for my phone or to watch TV. Um, and when my sister came over with my nephew, we were able to spend time with that nephew. He was 12 at the time, and he's very quiet, very different from his brother. So usually he just keeps to himself. When he comes here, he'll be in my living room just watching TV. So this time I really enjoyed that he got to play a card game with us, and it was the three of us, and we just had a ball. And so that was fun. Um, then Sunday came along, and tried to figure out what I could do to stay busy. So, again, the workouts, the reading of the book, wrote in my journal, and I loved the writing of my journal because usually I'm very limited. So my routines usually has been in the past. I have to get back into it because I have to be honest, I haven't been doing it. But 2 hours prior to starting my day, I work out and meditate and write in my journal. Unfortunately, I have not been doing that. But there's always a limit to how much I could write because there's a time limit to that because I had to start my day at a certain time. With this, I wrote until I couldn't write anymore. Until I wrote everything that was in my heart, everything that was coming up, I wrote it all. And so I really enjoyed it because I had like, for one day, I had like 3 pages of me just writing. So I did enjoy that piece. Then I realized my sisters told me LA was burning. And so then I was like, okay. One thing to keep me off of social media, what I did was I deleted all the apps. That way I wasn't tempted. But with this, I was like, oh no, I have to check because my family lives in the San Fernando Valley, which is basically what was surrounded by all the fires. They were basically in the middle of all the fires. So I needed to know what was happening. And so I scrolled through, but it was so easy to get sucked in that I found myself 10 minutes into it just scrolling, trying to figure out, like, what happened to this person and what happened to that person. People I don't even know, but people that I follow. Um, and then I caught myself and I was like, no, 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 no. Like, you have to delete this after, I think, like a day or two. It's like, you can't be on here. Like, you have a commitment to yourself. So I deleted them, except for TikTok. But I hid it. Um, but I still wasn't on it. Hiding it helped. Then, um, I just decided to keep an eye on those fires via YouTube, where that was the only app that I really allowed myself to interact with on a regular basis. Um, excuse me. The second weekend, I spent all of Saturday working on my puzzle. It brought me so much joy, and it, like, helped my mind relax. It helped me feel accomplished when I was done with it. But then also, I discovered lo-fi music. For those of you who are interested in watching those, I recommend them. They have different genres, but it's great to have as background music in your home, in your wherever. It I really enjoyed those. It has really, like, these soft rhythms, and it's meant to be not so high tech. It's meant to be more in the raw form, and so I think that that's what I enjoyed about it. But it was so relaxing. I spent all of Saturday doing that, and I realized that my soul needs music and rhythms to connect to because of the frequencies, right? Because that brings me peace and it brings me joy. So, third negotiation, while you're not going to listen to regular music, you are going to listen to. I did allow myself to listen to musical, like, mm, what is it called? When there's like no lyrics. So it's just instrumental music only, and in the genre that I liked. So that gave me happiness. So what didn't happen? So I never took my walks. I never went on my hikes because, again, I ran out of breath. Um, I did do 30-minute cardios. Didn't get to do my strength training. Wasn't feeling it. My 30-minute cardios were not every day, but they got done. My book, The Myth of Normal, started to. I didn't read it every day because it got heavy for me. The reason it got heavy for me is because I do have a chronic illness, and I do have a lot of trauma from childhood that it kept linking to it. And I get it. I've been through my therapist before, and that was something that we linked a long time ago, because this is my 11th, 12th year with my illness. So it's not something new that I've heard before. So the book is broken up, I think, into 3 groups. So the chapters. So the first chapters got heavy for me because they felt so personal, and I've connected with it so deeply and in such a real way that I hesitated in picking up the book and continued to read it. However, I am determined. I finally got through the first section. I'm in the second section. So now I'm hoping that it's going to pick up a little bit more. Because the goal is really to tell us, we have more control over our bodies than we think. We have more control over our minds than we think. It's just about learning how to tap into it. And so, I want to learn. I want to continue to um, see ways that I can make my body happy, that I can help my body in any way that I can. So I'm going to continue to read it. It's still here. I'm going to show you guys. If you've never seen it, if you haven't Googled it yet, it's pretty thick. But it's pretty good. So I recommend it. Then, so it didn't happen every day. I didn't get through the 20 something chapters as I expected, but I'm still chugging along. I haven't dumped it. I'm still reading it. My journal, again, wasn't on a daily basis, but I got to write so much about my day, about what I was feeling, about the things that were coming up for me, that I think it's the most I've ever written. While I was writing every day last year, I wasn't writing as deep. And then I did create my vision board. So that was another thing. I created my vision board. It's so pretty. I loved it. I got some tips from different YouTube channels on how to really manifest your vision board. So I felt like this is the first, I've done multiple vision boards, but this is the first year that I am really intentional about it. And I really liked it. When I went to print, I didn't have paper. No printing paper. Because who prints anymore, right? But I wanted to print out my images so I can post it, put them in my little board. Well, that didn't happen. So that got delayed. And then one day I was just thinking, I was like, why should I sit around and wait for something to happen to me? Right? Don't we do that a lot in life? Oh, the circumstances aren't good enough. They're not exactly lined up the way I expect them to be. I'm waiting on something. Something has to happen before I can act. And I realized, no, don't do that. Don't wait for something to happen. Create it yourself. This is for you. This is for your growth. This is so that you can have your vision for the year, and it doesn't have to look any way that anybody's ever told you. It just has to look the way you connect with it. So I have a lot of arts and crafts stuff in my garage. So I went and looked to see what I had. And sure enough, I had enough to make and create the most beautiful vision board I've ever had. And I feel like I connect with it so deeply. And it's so special to me because it doesn't have any images. It's all quotes. And I connected with it because it's more like affirmations. And they're open-ended. So I didn't tell the universe exactly how it is, right? So I know, if you want to you want a particular car, you get the picture of the car, you post it on your vision board. You want a particular house, or you want a house that looks similar to this house, right? I've heard people that have put it on their board, and then years later they get this house and realize it looks so similar. Where have I seen this house before? And they look at their old vision boards, and it's actually the house that was on their vision board. I know a guy. So that's amazing. But with mine, I'm allowing the universe to be as creative as it wants to be. Give me the things it wants to give me based off of the quotes, right? So one of my quotes, just to give you an example, is, and because I have my original right here, I attract incredible opportunities into my life. I'm not telling it what opportunity I want, because my imagination is not as expanded as the universe. So if I'm telling it I want a specific opportunity, I feel like I'm blocking what I can actually receive because I'm saying this is what I want, right? Whereas I attract incredible opportunities into my life. Who knows what those incredible opportunities are? And that's what makes me so excited about what could happen. So, my vision board did not turn out exactly the way I had planned or wanted it to, but I absolutely love my vision board. And I feel like it's the first time that I'm really connected to one. So, I made it happen on my terms instead of waiting for us to go and get paper or order it from Amazon. So every time I look at my board, now I just smile because I'm so happy about it. All right. So, what were the lessons that I actually learned in this whole ordeal? I wasn't perfect. And if you ask me, was it really a tech free month? Maybe not. But I learned, and I also cut out a lot of time of being non productive from my day. As you can probably hear, I have a lot of time because the child is 18. She does her own thing. My husband, and then it's my husband and I and the doggies. I have the time. I know not everybody has the blessing of the time, but I do. So I didn't want to be wasting it on things that were not productive because that's a dangerous path to be on. Instead, I want to focus on building a future that I am truly proud of. Instead, I want to grow my business. I want to grow my skills so that others can see them in me and want to work with me. I want to be able to be a productive person in society, helping. So, volunteering, that's actually on my list as well. One of my goals for this year is to volunteer at least 1 hour a week. I usually volunteer 40 hours a year, but this one I wanted to do 1 hour a week. Again, we're in February, I haven't started, but that's something that I want to do because it's just in my heart. I just like to be of service to others. And then I also cut out watching TV just to watch TV or having the TV on just because it's on. I have learned to just sit in the quiet. I have learned to turn off everything and just be with myself. That's something I couldn't do before because the voices in my head, they were so loud and annoying. Who do you think you are? What are you doing? You shouldn't have done that. Remember when you did? It was a non-stop loop. I'm so happy that I can now sit, focus on my breathing, and allow my imagination to go wild. Come up with ideas, come up with take me wherever it wants to take me. I allow it because that's where I get my inspiration from. And until last week, I actually learned not to carry my phone around with me everywhere I went. So another thing I discovered about myself is the closer we got to the goal, to the end date, the more relaxed I became. So these are things that, while they're not perfect, they're things, or they're not exactly what I expected them to be. They are things that came up for me that I now know that I have to work on. right? So those are things that I would have never known or guessed until I experienced it. And because I was so focused on it, these things pop like, hey, you carry your phone into the bathroom. You carry your phone when you go from the house to your car. You carry your phone in your hand at all times. And then when you're bored, you grab it, you turn it on. You don't see anything you like, you turn it back off. A few minutes later, turn it back on. It's a cycle. It's like your comfort blanket. This is what I told myself. And so I'm trying to break that because the phone is not an extension of me. And how much better of a person could I be without it? Like I can learn. I It's a great tool for learning, for growing when you're not sucked in to the things that are time time waste. Because I mean even TikTok I absolutely love because I learned so much from it. YouTube I love because I learned so much from it. Instagram, I love because I connect with the people in my life, see what's going on in their life, right? But too much of one thing can be harmful as well. So I didn't stick 100% to my plan, but I did manage to reduce my tech time by a lot. And I will leave it up to you to decide if this was a success story or a failed attempt. So leave your comments in the sections below. Thank you for watching. Till next time, bye.